and we have done some this string part, then concatenation operators. Okay, and we have seen that what is this and or conditions can be do.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, now we will move further, and we will see that how for loop and while loop work. First of all, I will just say, yeah, here. I will add a new class. Just right click on my project name and just add a class. I can add as many classes as I want. Okay. Now name it as loops study. Add this. Now I already told you that this main method is the startup method of any class. So I have to add main method to my class. Okay. Now, first of all, we will see while loop. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, say int I equal to 0. Now, while loop will always run for true condition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I will say while I is less than 10, then console.writeLine I, okay, and I equal to I plus 1. Okay. Now, if I run this, I will just put a console dot read key so that I can't see that stuff. Mm, okay. Now, if I run this, this will now there is no error in this. Now, if I run this, it will give me an error, and the error is it says program has more than one entry point defined. Now, I said that the main method is a starting method of your project. Now, if you have two classes and you have two main method, you have to specify that which class you have to set as your startup class. So again, go to your project, right click, go to properties, and here this starter project,
Mm-hmm.
just select the class which you want to get your as a startup class. And after that, just close this and run it again. Okay. Now you see that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As it is will print all the elements, it will not print 10 because I have given it a condition that it should be less than 10, not equal to 10. Now suppose if I do this and run it again, now it's include 10 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now this is the thing which is while loop. You can check it with, you can say, your debugging thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now if I run this, the code will stop here. Okay. Now if I press F10 or F11, it will go line by line. Now it says I equal to 0 and 0 is less than equal to 10 and it says true. So it will go inside these brackets and just write like this. Now again, I is 1 because I will be incremented here. Now
Mhm.
I1, if I check here, I again it is true. So it will go till the condition is true.
10.
Now if it will go with 10 as well because I have given that I is less than equal to 10. Now I is 3. Now I is 11.
Mhm.
Okay. Now if I check this now it will not because 10 is less than 11 is not less than or equal to 10. Okay, so the condition is false. Now it will not go inside these brackets. It will just pass the condition. Okay, so this way our while loops work. While loop is always go for true condition. Okay. Now in this I say this is initialization, this is condition, and this is incrementation. Okay, so these are the three steps like initialization, condition, and incrementation, which
Mhm.
will tell the while loop to run, and it is all in three different steps. Okay, now if I talk about, you can say, mm, now I can do one thing more. I can do it reverse as well. Just I have to change the something like if I equal to 10. Okay. Now if I is can say uh, greater than 0. Okay. And I will say I equal to I minus 1. Okay. Now if I run this,
Mhm.
now you see it will run the in the reverse order.
Hmm.
Okay. So you have to apply your logic as per particular situation.
Hmm.
Okay. So it will run both ways. It will run back ways. It will run forward. Okay. So now if I go for for loop, now the syntax for the for loop is simple. For say int x equal to 0 and say x is less than 10 and say x plus plus I will say console dot write line x. Now I have commented this one. Now it will print only this one. Now if I run this again, now again it will print till 9.
Nine. Okay.
Okay. Now here you see that initialization, then the condition, and then the incrementation is all in the same line.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, now the exercise for you is that you have to try and print the sum of first 100 numbers. Okay.
Mhm.
Print the sum of first 100 numbers. This is the exercise for you. Okay. Now, if I just look here. Okay. Okay. Uh, now, now the thing is, which one is better? While loop is better, or you can say for loop is better. In your opinion, which one is better?
For is better, right?
in some condition for is better, and in
Mm-hmm.
some condition while is better. We will see. Now suppose here we have only two lines of code. Now what happens in while loop? We have a code of line, you can say about 20 lines, 30 lines. Then this, you can say that this incrementation part will
Mm-hmm.
be like, you can say here. Now it is beyond my screen. So, and suppose what happens, I just forgot to do this implementation part. I just comment this and uncomment this one. I just forgot do this incrementation part. I have to do the initialization. I have to do the condition part. Just a minute. Okay, where is there? Yeah, hi Pankaj.
Yeah, hi Ashish. Good morning.
Uh, this side Abhijit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
good
Abhishek.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pankaj, can you tell me about something little bit introduction about yourself?
Yeah. So total, like overall, I have an 8 years of experience. So five
Hmm.
years experience in the QA field and 3 years experience in actually earlier I was working in other field.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So I
you
have yes.
you have
Yeah. So I
any
actually
experience? Yeah.
yeah actually I have an experience on the manual testing. So automation just
Okay.
little bit I have an idea. So
Okay.
that's what.
Okay. So you have watched the first part?
Yeah. First part I was completed.
Okay. So you have been installed the Visual Studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So any problem which have you caught up in the first part, or should we proceed further?
Yeah. Yeah. We can proceed further. Long
Okay.
issue.
Now just try to join at 7 because we have all have joined at 7. Maybe
Okay.
5 minutes before we have wait for you 5 to 10 minutes. Then we have start the
Okay.
second lecture. Okay. Now what we have done like loops. We are going for the loops. Okay. Now these are called the loops. First, this is the while loop. Okay. This is say uh, you can say this is a while loop which is say that this is a initialization, okay, and say this is a condition, okay, and this is the incrementation part. Now if I run this, it will give me my value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are and this is the for loop. Now we are discussing that which one is better, for loop is better or while loop is better. Now suppose it has all the three things: initialization, condition, and incrementation in the
Mm-hmm.
same line. Okay. Now it has on the different lines here, here, here. Now suppose if I just missed this one,
Mm-hmm.
and if I run the code again, now you see it will go in the infinity loop.
Mm-hmm.
It will never come out of this brackets because I is not incrementing and I will
And
always remains less than 10.
got
So
you.
you have to be very careful when you are
Mm-hmm.
using while loop, because again I am repeating same thing that sometimes what happens your code looks like this and it will go beyond your screen. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
whenever you using while loop, just always do these first things first. Three things: initialization, condition, then incrementation is the must. After
Mm-hmm.
that, you go for your code, but these three things has to be there every time. Otherwise, it will go in the infinite loop. For the for loop, you see that these three things I have to give over here. Okay, so it will be easy in the for loop for writing initialization, the condition, and
Mhm.
the incrementation part. So that's why we all say that we go for loop. Okay, now exercise for all of you as I will give that you have to print the sum of first 100 numbers. Okay, just try this. If you don't succeed, then I will help you out. But just try this first.
Mhm.
Okay, now the question is that where we use this for loop. Okay, now if you say that you have a Excel sheet, you get the data in your Excel sheet. Like it says that first is username, then you have password, okay, then you have email, then you have zip code. Okay, now say now it says U1, yeah, now it says P1 and say it says email one, okay, then something like this, and the zip code. It can be in the integer format and it can be any. Now you want to read the data from this file. Okay. Now you have to iterate through entire Excel sheet to read the data. Okay. Now if I say you have your rows, first we'll go you with the number of rows, then the number of columns. So then you can iterate through each cell. In this part, your for loop will come handy. We will see that how it will come handy. Uh, like say, mm, we will see that how it will come handy in the coming classes. Now, suppose I have a one more topic. Yeah, it's arrays. Now, suppose you have this type of data and you want to store inside something. Now, what can you do? Like, I'm just, so what will you do? That you can say string username equal to something like u1. Okay. Now, string password is p1. Okay. Now, string email is, you can say something like at the rate gmail.com, and in the end you have say it will be into the zip code. Okay, and say this. Now suppose this is the same data as it is from here. Okay,
Mhm.
now I have to hard code. Now this is a suppose 6 times data, so I have to made like 6 times, like string username one, then password one, then even one, then have to give the values. You have sometimes lots of data. This is just a little bit of data. Okay, so for store this all the values we use array. Okay, so array is an basically a memory location where you can store multiple value. And then say it's a memory location where you can store multiple values. Okay, Now, coming back to one thing, I just want to out of this, I want just want to ask you a question that what does this int I is equal to 0 or you say int I equal to 400 represent? If I say, so what does this mean? Int I equal to 400. So what will you tell? You can say anything.
Yeah.
Memory allocation
Mm-hmm. It's a memory allocation, yes.
and initializing the I with value 400 and the data type is int.
Okay. So, uh, will you try, Priya?
Yeah, that's the thing. The data type, it's like a value for that I is 400.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you, Pankaj?
Yeah, in reference variable, like we are assigning 400 to it.
Yes. Referencing is the word.
Mm-hmm.
Main word is referencing. I think I have already told you that if int I equal to 400, now there is an memory location where 400 is residing, and I I is referencing to that memory location. I
Mm-hmm.
is not 400, but
Mm-hmm.
I is referencing to that memory location where 400 is residing. Okay. So very straightforward answer that I is not 400. I is referencing to that memory location where 400 is residing. The same way you can say that if Delhi is 50 kilometers away and there is a milestone that it says 50 kilometer away, that milestone is a
Referencing, yeah.
referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Milestone is not a Delhi.
Mm.
Okay, so that's a big difference. Everybody will don't know that it says that I is 400. No, I is not 400. I is referencing to that memory location where 400 is residing.
ID.
Okay, so coming back to our loop study. Now, where now if I want to support so store 100 types of data, so it my array will come handy. It's known as 2D array. Now, if I want to represent in Paint, I will just say that this is an array and it represents in columns and rows. Now, suppose if I have four parameters. Now, I have four parameters, then I have my four
Columns.
columns. Okay. Then let's say this one. Okay. Now, my four parameters represent four columns. Now, the number of sets of data. Suppose if I say I have uh, two sets of data, okay, or you can say three sets of data, 3% data. So I will just say here, this is first person, this is second person, and the third person data. Now here, username, then password, then email, then zip code. Okay. Now if I U1 P1, it says U1 P1, then your email, and in the end, your zip code. Okay. Now, this all the things can be stored in the array. Now, the next part it can be U2, okay. Then it can be P2, then the another Gmail, and in the end your zip code. So similarly you can do with the third set of data. Okay, p3, then gmail.com, and in the end the zip code. Now I just have to read this data and put it in the array this way. So how to declare an array? So to declare an array is like the type of array string, comma, and name your array as something like can say test array equal to new string. Okay, and it says 3 comma 4. Okay, now here 3 is number of rows and 4 is number of columns. Okay, and you can say 4 is the number of parameters you are going to pass. Okay, now this is how you declare an array. Now
I have a
can
question here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So the string, comma, test array is the word for to declare the arrays.
yeah, it is how to declare an array. This is the name of an array.
Okay, so anything like you create a table and you give a name
Mm,
for the table and string bracket comma and the table name if you give, that's the array.
yeah, this is the
Okay.
array name. This is
Mm-hmm.
the array name, and this is how you declare an array. This is a
Okay.
it's a syntax to declare an array. It can be any test array one, or you can say array test. You can give it as you want.
Okay.
Okay,
The
this is
other
how.
question is, yeah, my team that we really like deal with the databases like very
Mm,
huge files. So is
okay,
there any way instead of this one, can we directly call the database and use
you want,
this?
yeah, you can call that, you want. Now suppose if you have a table, if you I've given you an example here. If I say there is a table like this, or you can say it is representing a table and rows and columns. Now you
Mm-hmm.
have your table name, but you if you are reading the data, then you have to put it somewhere. So
Okay.
it can be used there.
Mm-hmm.
Array can be used that right now I'm reading this data from Excel file. The
Okay.
Excel file is same as you can say that your database table,
Okay.
your
Okay.
column names,
Mm-hmm.
and then your values.
Okay.
Just it's a different thing that you have to read the data from database or your MySQL file or your SQL,
Okay.
depending on the thing.
Okay.
It's just as the same. Just the
Okay.
you can say the thing which we are reading from is different.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
Yeah.
now there is one problem in this, that if I want to, this is a string array, and string array cannot hold the integer value, and integer array cannot hold string value, or you can say vice versa. So now the problem arises when I want to store this int value. I cannot store int value inside test array. Okay. Now the problem arises that how we can store your value. Can anybody tell that how can we store the value in this array type?
We can take object data type.
Yes, that's the thing. We can use the object data type, and you can say object and name it as your data, data1, data2, anything. And it says new object and the number of rows. Now, if I hover over this string, okay, it says class system.string. Okay, now, if I hover over object, it is an system.object. It is an inbuilt class inside C sharp. Okay. We will study it in detail as we move on with our course when we actually read the data from Excel file. Now, here, if you see that these three, what does three represent? Three is number of rows. Okay, and we will not declare the columns here. Now, suppose I have given that it has three rows. Now, first of all, it starts with the zero index. Okay, now here I will say data zero is means the zeroth row. Okay, and here I will say new, can say object, and here 4. 4 is number of columns. Okay, now we have to declare columns for each and every row. Okay, now I can say put my data as data 0. Then again the indexing starts with, you can say uh, your zeroth index. Okay, now say data 1 maybe. Sorry, this is 0 comma 0. Hmm, I think so there is a mistake in 0 comma 0. So hmm, I will see to that what is the syntax of this. It will give me an error. Why? I will just say to it. It just say now 0 comma 0 means this part, or you can say first, because I am leaving the columns part. I am starting my loop with the second row, and 0 comma 0 means that this 0th row, and you can say your 0th column, that is your first cell. Now 0 comma 1 means first row and second column. 0 comma 2 first row, first you can say third column. So as indexing start with 0, so we will always start with the 0. Okay, here indexing is always start with the 0. Just remember this. And this thing, why we are going to declare every columns for every row number. I will give you an example. Suppose you have an Excel sheet like this. Now, if you see that for second number row, there are 4 columns. It's a test case A. Now, for the 8th row, it has 5 columns. So my object array will come handy to store all this value, as it will declare columns for every row. We have to declare columns for every row. Okay, so this is how the object array will work. We will discuss it, we will work on this in detail in the coming classes. But right now, you just have to remember that there is an array which is known as object array, and it can hold multiple types of data. It can hold string, it can hold bool, it can hold double, it can hold any type of data. Okay, so this is the advantage of an object array. And what is an object array? Object array is an inbuilt class inside C sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the class which is provided by C sharp. Okay, so this is very helpful when we are reading the data. And it can be any from, like you are reading the data from Excel, your XML, or you are reading data from database. So you can store as many values as you want.
Okay.
Okay, and the main drawback of, you can say, these type of 2D, these are known as 2D arrays. That string array cannot hold integer, double, or bool. It can hold only string values. Okay? And integer array can hold integer values. It cannot hold other values, other data type values. Okay? The these are just a basic introduction to this. So it just for the point of interview, these things are very, very important. As I said in my previous class, that please maintain your Excel sheet. Like now, suppose if I just give an example, just go with here that day, the topic which we have covered, and
Mm-hmm.
your key points. Okay. Now, suppose in the day one we have just installation of, you can say, Visual Studio. Okay, then key points to remember, and it can be, you can say, this thing, because installation of video part is there, and something which we have covered in the first class, like what are the questions, basic questions we have covered. Now, suppose here it's one. Now it will say, okay, now it says, suppose day one. Now, now we are on the day 13, or you can say you have watched the, you some stuck somewhere after 1 month or 2 months, you stuck somewhere in topic, like arrays, or you can say like functions. Suppose we have done the function in the day 6, and you have write that you have done the topic at day 6. So you will just go to this, go to seleniumtraining.com and log in and watch the 6th video, and you can eradicate your error, or you can say your concept you want to clear. So please maintain this Excel sheet, or you can say the key points will help you when you go for the interview. That you have, we just go through these key points, then it will be helpful for you. Okay, so let's
Okay.
move ahead, and the next topic is function. So can anybody tell me the definition of function? Just a small definition.
Functionality concept of the.
Go for it.
I'm just thinking function. Hmm.
I will just make my class, and say I will name it as yeah, functions study. Okay. Now again, I will make my main method to it. Now every time you made a class, if you
Mm-hmm.
want that class to be executed, you have to provide this with the main method. So then if you select as this as startup class, then when the code comes in this class, it will come to this main method. Okay, now what is functions? Okay. Now in a small, it's in the, it's, you can say just a small language, it's a small unit of execution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now the question is that what is the difference between function and method? Can anybody tell?
We unit of execution means we can reuse that one.
Yes, it's
Okay.
just a small unit of execution. Now, if I say this function, this is also a function.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the scope, or just say, first of all, just tell me, can anybody know that what is the difference between function and method?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, no. So this is again a good question and good exercise for you, that you have to tell me by the tomorrow class that what is the difference between a function and method. Then we will discuss over that, because this is a very good interview question that anybody can ask you, and most of the people get confused that what is function and what is method. So you have to
Method is a,
explain.
we can say like method is a block where we are writing our program, right? Whether
Mm,
it's like
you
static or
can suppose
non-static, all this.
now,
Yeah.
suppose if I just made a function public static void test, and you can name it as anything as you want. Now this this is a function. Can you call this a method?
No,
Why?
because inside code is not there. No?
Inside
Inside code is not written.
code is not written. Suppose if I say int y equal to 0. Now can you call this a method or function? Don't go for the Google
No,
words.
it has no. It has to perform some
I
it
will
has to
just
provide
make
some
a,
out.
yeah, I will say, just say int y equal to 10, then x equal to 8, then say int sum equal to, you can say, uh, mm, you can simply say y plus x. Now
Yeah, we can say this is a method
y,
because we have
what is the
created
what is the difference between a function and method? This is a function, I know, this is a function, but what does the method mean? There is a basic difference
uh,
between a function and method. So just Google it. But now, if you say, you have said to me, now if you are in the interview, then it will get confusion for you that what is function, what is method. Okay, so just Google it now. Don't go for the terms that are written. Just understand the terms which are there. Okay, don't go for the words, because if you see this, say this, it will not. I will say that it is a function. Now you can call it a method or not.
what we learned
Okay.
in Java. Whenever like we are creating this static and we are putting some method name, then we are calling it like static method. Inside whatever it can be.
No, there is a, you can say Java, C Sharp, PHP, or any language. If you go with the
Mhm.
word function, now we will can say debate on this by tomorrow. First of all, just I want you, all of you, to study that what is function and what is method. Then we will uh, create a short debate about 5 minutes or 2 minutes for this. as this is a very
Okay.
important and most asked question in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so just study for this topic, then we will go for the short debate. Okay, this go for Anusha, two for you. Okay,
Yeah, sure.
okay. Now, uh, so suppose now I have declared one function public static void test. Now, what is this void? What is this static? What is this public? It will be clear to you as we proceed. Okay. Now, suppose if I say the scope of these functions mean that this function, the you can say the area of this function is inside these brackets only. The scope of this function is inside this, you can say these brackets only. Suppose you have declared int a equal to 100. Now, if I want to access this variable a inside my another function, now if I say y plus x plus a. Now it says the name a does not exist in the current context. Okay. So because the scope of this variable is inside these brackets only, I can use this variable a, integer a, inside this function only. If you say int total equal to a plus b, I can access this integer variable inside this function only. But I cannot access this variable a inside another function. Okay. Now, if you see that this is function first, this is function 2. Okay. Functions are declared inside the class body. This is your class body, and you have declared your functions here. And functions are parallel to each other. Okay. Now, suppose the, I have told you that if I say console dot write line sum. So just remove this first. Uh, say sum is okay. Now if I run this, I want to see the what is the sum of these two. Now if I run this, first of all I have to make this as my startup class. Again, go to your properties and say function study as your startup class, startup object, then just close it. Why I'm always trying to say that close this whenever you make this. Now suppose what happens, you added one more class and you haven't closed this. Now you add one more class and name it any. Okay, now suppose I write something in this and I want to make this as my startup class. Now if I go there without closing it, now see, no class 1 is there.
Hmm.
Okay. So whenever you just give the startup class, always close this. Okay. Otherwise, your next class name is not there. Okay. Now I will just delete this. Now suppose this is my startup class. Now I will run this. Now I said I want to see the sum of this. It will not give any console statement. It is not giving any console statement that sum is this. So here we get to know one more thing, that function cannot be called by themselves, or you can say functions are not executed by themselves. They can be executed, you can say they can be executed, or you can say by calling them. Now, if I say here, uh, okay, now if I run this again and I will just say console dot uh, read key. Now, if I run this, now you see it says sum is 18. I have called the function. That's why it is giving me the return value. It will not call by themselves. You have to be call the function
Mm-hmm.
inside your main function, as this is called by default in the startup. So that's why. Oh, suppose I will make one more function, test2. Okay. I will say int a equal to suppose 45 and int h equal to 2, and say int multiplication equal to a into h, and say console dot write line, and say uh, result is plus multiplication. Now I know I know that if I just say that's 2 here, then it will give me the result. Now it says result is 90. Okay. Now suppose if I don't want to call this function here, but I still want to be print the result. So how can I do that? Can anybody tell?
Can you come again? What's the question?
Suppose this is a function I have made, one more function.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I know that if I call this function, that then it will give me the result. The result is 90.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Suppose if I don't want to declare here, I don't want to call this function here, but I still want this result to be printed. So what can I do? Yeah, right. Anybody? Anusha?
Mm,
No, I'm not getting.
No. If you
Mm-hmm.
see that I have calling this function,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so it will print. But suppose now I comment this, but still I want that result to be printed. I want that function to be called.
You can call the same function below also.
Below where?
Mm, before.
I don't want to call this test2 function in my main function.
Okay, that's what you can call it in subfunction where test2 is there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I can call it this test2 function
Mm-hmm.
here.
Okay.
Okay. Now if I run this, now again it will give me the result. So this say that it will be called by another function as well.
Got you.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
this is how you can call the function. Now,
Mm-hmm.
now sometimes what happens, you have a function name that text. Mm,
With just a second. So
yeah,
here you are calling one method inside the another method.
yes. You can call function by another function. The the things it has to be some can say some rules are there, but I'm not going for that rules. You will get to know that what the rules are. Just see that this function is called by this function. That's why I'm able to just can say print this statement because I have
But
not called
method,
in my yeah.
but usually method will be called inside only the main method only, no? But I think it's a kind of inheritance concept or what?
No,
Because in
this
that,
is the concept. Inheritance is a different thing. We will go for that as well. In it will say inherit. What do you mean by inheritance? That I want to inherit the properties of my base class, like some
mm-hmm.
of the functions that may be reusable functions. I want to use that function that I and then I want to inherit the properties of that class, or you can say my base class. I will just pass my function name in my derived class, then it will give me the value. Okay. Now
Here you are just calling. You are not using
yeah,
any like.
I'm just calling them. Now suppose if I say public int waiting that I just public static int test. Now, mm, yeah. Now I will say return sum. Now, what does this mean? That this is the function that is returning something. Now I can do is like uh, int t equal to test, and I will say console dot write line dot write line and say the value is t. Okay. Now this is a function that is returning me something. So I'm calling that and give that value in integer. Now if I run this, you can see value is 18. Okay. Now what can I do? I can do the one more thing. Now here y and x I'm giving that as a static value. Now if I say int y comma int x, I will just comment this. Now what is this int y int x? Now here I will pass values. You can say 4 comma 6. Okay, now if I just run this, now its value is 10. Now my function is dynamic. Whatever the values I will pass over here, it will give me the addition of those numbers. Now if I run this again, now 15, as 9 plus 6 is 15. And one thing you have to see that whatever the parameters you are here, the number of parameters should be same here. Okay, it can if it is two parameters, then you have to pass two parameters here as well. So it will give me the return. Now suppose if I say string, so it will give me an error because it says cannot convert implicitly convert type into string, as this is giving me the value as integer. It is returning me the value as integer because I have made this function to return me as integer. So I cannot declare as this. So the returning type should be the same as we are, you can say, declaring the value here. Okay. Now, suppose uh, I'm this int a equal to 100 again. Okay. Now here int a is 100, int a is 100. I'm declaring the same values again and again. Okay. So what can I do? I say mm, declare it as global static int a equal to 100. Okay. Now if I just here and here. Okay. Now this test2, I will call this as well. Okay. Now if I run this, now it give me value is 200 because 100 into 2 is 200 and it says result is 200. So this is an global variable. It can be accessed by any function. Okay. Now if you see that I have declared it as static. Okay. Now can anybody tell me what is static, what is non-static? Okay. Now, yeah.
If it is a static in the global, then we can call inside the any method. We can utilize the value like inside any method, right? Whether it's a static or non-static. If
Okay.
it's a non-static in global, then only we can call inside the non-static method.
Okay. Suppose if I say public int and say test3. Okay. Now, if I say or you can say public int something like this. Now if say int g equal to 300 and I will say int sum and I want to use that a variable, say g plus a. Okay. Now this is the end we say return sum. Okay. I can use this and this is not a static method. This is a non-static. Okay. They clearly say the static and non-static difference that the word static. If it is not static, then I then if static, then it's a static function. If it is the static word is not there, then it is a non-static function. Now, if you say that it is a non-static, so non-static function can access static variable. Now,
Yes.
suppose if I go with this, okay, now this is a non-static variable now because no static keyword is there. Now, if you see, it says an object reference is required for the non-static field. So the difference is that static function can access only static variables, okay, or static variables can be accessed by only static functions. But In case of non-static, it can access static as well as non-static. It can access all the functions or all the variables which are there globally. So this int a is a global variable and this int b is a local variable. As the scope of this variable, the local variable is inside this bracket only. I cannot access this b here, here, or any other function, but it can be accessed inside this brackets only. Okay, so this is a concept of global and local variable, then static variable, okay, and you can say non-static variable. So the thing is static function can access only, I will just write here, static function can access only static variables. Or you can say vice versa, that static variables can be accessed only by static function. Okay, and the second thing is non-static function can access static as well as non-static variables. But this is a very good thing regarding interview. Okay, so anybody have any question regarding this? Okay, so we will conclude today's topic as we have done like loops, then for loop, then while loop, okay, then array, then object array, then we have discussed what is functions, okay, local variable, global variable,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then static and non-static. Just go through this video and
Okay.
whatever the questions you have, just ask me. You can ask me in the next. And you have two exercises that you have to print the sum of first 100 numbers, but first just don't go for the Google. Just go
Mhm.
do it by yourself. First try it by yourself only. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Just it's to learn only, right? So
yeah.
definitely will try by myself. Yeah.
Okay. Now, and the second thing you have to tell me the difference between function and method.
Machine. Okay.
We will discuss this. We will give it 5 to 10 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes for discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a very good interview question. Okay. So we will meet tomorrow at the same time. And please, I will join by 6:55 a.m. so that if we have some errors or something like that, then we can discuss it in within 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can proceed. So
Okay.
uh, try to get it by 7 a.m.
Sure.
Okay.
Uh, okay. Okay.
Abhijit,
So
if you
yeah,
have 2 minutes, can I share my screen? Just wanted to quickly check
yeah, yeah,
on the tools.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you can stop recording too. This is just the Visual Studio.
No. Okay. No worries. No worries. Okay.
So here in the individual components, should I select anything?
No, 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 no. Just go for the workloads. Okay, and here you have just select ASP.NET, then .NET Desktop, because some of the like some of the files are here only and some of the files are there only, and just go scroll below. Okay, we don't need this. Okay, this is more than enough. Okay, just go for the installer. Okay, okay, guys. Then
Yeah.
we will meet tomorrow at the same time. Okay, and please be on time. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Okay, thank you.